I'll let you know when it's all up and running.
Oh, it's saying it's live on Facebook.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we are. There we go. There we go. Hi, everybody. Let me just work this out. I can't see. Why can't I see Alex? That's better.
You can see me now? I can see you.
Yeah. I couldn't see you like on the video on Facebook. You weren't coming up, but I think you're coming up now. Let's see. So we were just talking about your beautiful hair, and I know you get it done at a specialist hairdresser, and you get it done naturally, don't you? All the we can see you now. Beautiful.
I do. I use wonderful. I go to a wonderful salon called Blown Away Hair down in Sans Souci.
Oh, Blown Away Hair. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, she's a low tox salon. Callie is her name. She's gorgeous and does a great color and uses the Naturalic range. And yeah, this is like, I've gone very white blonde because I'm almost grey. So this is my way of sidestepping into the grey years.
Look, I love the color, and it looks like it is good quality. Like, it looks healthy. It looks shiny. It's yeah. So I love that, because it used to be hard to get that natural stuff for hair color. Yeah, a little bit hard, unless you used to want to henna it.
Yeah,
get the extra red.
I still have visions of my mum running the Body Shop henna through my hair just to dye my hair. Gosh, she was good to me. Yeah.
Look, I'm sure everybody knows you, and the reason I wanted to do this, well, there's a couple of reasons, but I have to say it was a little bit selfish on my part, because I've been low tox, what I think low tox for, a while. I swapped over my toothpaste, natural things back in, around 2006, 2008 time. But I've sort of plateaued. It's interesting. I did all that, and then I've been a little bit ignorant myself in terms of all the other areas that I should be myself working on. And of course, we're at different levels of low toxing our life, which is a phrase you coined.
I did. Yeah.
And so I wanted to get you on to ask you a few questions, but also I'm also doing a lot about cleansing and a lot about detoxing, a lot about hormones. And through the research, I realized, God, it was quite, a big awakening for me, the actual impact that toxins and endocrine disruptors, heavy metals are having on our health, on our hormones. So I really wanted to get you on and introduce you to folks so they could understand there's somewhere that they can go. They can get simple help just for simple things. They don't seem so overwhelmed. So they might be, if we've got ladies on here with some hormonal dysregulation and they just feel like, okay, this is a bit much for me to take on, they know there's a resource for them to go to where they can, simple, it doesn't have to be too overwhelming, it doesn't have to be too expensive, and they can just do it simply. So I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and give a little bit of a backstory, because I know you've got a little bit of a story about how you got to where you are. I mean, it's a long story, but just to condense
it is a long.
The main parts.
I'm going to do it short. So I coined the term low tox in 2009. I had a little bub, and I had kind of been on 3 waves of awareness, sort of being awakened to the injustice around labeling, around chemical lobby, around the fact that chemical industry, whether we're talking food-based additives or chemicals that go into our gardening products or into our shampoo and the like, are all self-regulated. So they do all of their testing internally. There's not many that get independently tested. And the 3 waves really happened for me. One was chronic tonsillitis. I was getting it over and over again, and that was how I discovered naturopathy. It was really very much a last resort recommendation by a friend, because 15 years ago it was still very much a hippie, kind of like only those in the know, or if you lived in Bondi or Mullumbimby, did you know that naturopaths could be part of your healthcare plan? And she sorted me out. Within a week, I didn't have tonsillitis anymore after the antibiotics had clean stopped working. And that really fascinated me. So the next thing she helped me with was actually hormone rebalancing after having 2 years of amenorrhea, quitting the pill in my 20s. And I got told I might have early onset menopause. And so I said, you were great with the tonsils. Do you want to have a crack at this? And she was furious that I'd been told that after just a couple of small tests. And I was 28 years old. I mean, it's
That's scary. You do not want to hear that. No.
Exactly. So I then took some more vile tasting herbs and did a couple of things, and the period came back. So I was starting to really realise through those two things and the recommendations she made around quitting gluten, which forced me to look at food labels for the first time, I was starting to realise how disconnected I was from what I was putting in my body and how that could affect my health, whether we're talking about the pill, whether we're talking about cheesels, all of it is the same thing. It's all about destabilising a very delicate biochemical balance and with a whole bunch of modern assaults. And we can do it every now and then. Like, our bodies are pretty amazing. Our liver's just the most incredible thing in the world. But it's the onslaught of day in, day out, day after day, week after week, year after year, that our bodies eventually give out and go, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And that's why so many women start to feel horrific in their 30s. That's really, for me, it's like the most obvious sign of my body's saying time out. I can't do this anymore. And so the third wave was when Seb was born, my son, who's now 9 and gorgeous, big, healthy boy. And I got all the well-meaning gifts in the baby shower and thought I'm really good at reading food labels now because I've had to avoid gluten, which worked a charm for not getting tonsillitis anymore. It was amazing. Let's have a look at the shampoos that I've been given and the body oils and all those sorts of things. And they were beautiful gifts from friends, it's a lovely thing, but I just sort of cast my eye over them just to check it out. And over 90% of the ingredients on the back were petroleum-based. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I don't want to put that on my son. Even
some of the biggest brands are just pure petroleum, aren't they? The biggest brands. Yeah.
And it's interesting, they're all now kind of market bet hedging by releasing greener kind of ranges under the guise of sensitive or
that's just a green label, green writing,
green label, and it's by a company that's doing not so great things as well. So I don't like hedge betting. I always liken it to the example of being in the shops one day at a well-known grocer and seeing these organic pasture-raised eggs, and I thought, I know that egg producer, I'm pretty sure I've researched them before. Sure enough, I had, because of their cage egg horrific conditions that they keep so many chickens in. And so they actually have cage eggs, free-range eggs, and organic pasture-raised eggs. So that's not ethics to me. That's actually just wanting to corner the market in every segment of the market. And I really, it doesn't impress me. I don't buy things where I see that. I much prefer to back companies that have it in their DNA to care for people and planet.
That's great. So that's
how I got there. And so once I had read all the books that were available at the time and been doing all my research, I thought, my smart friends would really want to know this stuff. Like, this isn't hippie woo-woo crap. This is like evidence-based science, and companies just putting things in because they are cheaper.
The cheapest thing, or byproducts, yeah. As long as it is a byproduct that's going to get thrown away, we may as well just figure out how to use it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not cool with that. I think money is a wonderful thing to make. Yes, you have to answer to your shareholders, but not at the expense of people and planet. Please let those days be gone. So yeah, it was a decision for me to start writing. And sometimes when I researched, some of the things I researched were really fear-based and really terrifying, the way that the information was shared. And I had always educated in hospitality and in the cosmetics industry, ironic, I know, but I had always been an educator and a motivator and someone who was training teams all the time and exciting people about things. So I thought, what if I could bring a sense of excitement and joy around doing better instead of fear-based learning, because if I don't do this, I'm going to die. That's just not helpful either. So I was overjoyed to decide to start writing and sharing what I had learned, and just sharing some exposés, some recipes. And it kind of, the term low tox really for me came about because I just didn't like words like quitting and free from and know this. Like, it was all very negative and very black and white. And the world is not black and white. I'm probably breathing in some exhaust right now from a nearby construction site. Like, I'm not, I think if we try to pretend that purism is possible, then we will always struggle with a sense of failure and shame around not doing enough. And I think, just you mentioned at the start, like, we do plateau. We kind of go gung-ho on something, and we have to get comfortable with those changes and sit with them for a while before we attack the next thing. And that's very much how I know change to work for me most effectively and to last.
I think that's how it works for everyone. Yeah. Because that fear, that creates kind of that fight flight response that creates, okay, fearful, and actually then you think you can't do anything, you think the problem is way too big. Exactly. And then comes in the shame, and then it's, well, if I can't do this, then I may as well, what's the point? So I think how you've done it's the best way. And I think, just to go back to what you just said, and if people don't realize, you are a huge researcher, and you are, in terms of, we talk about, and we can joke about, low tox guru this, low tox guru that, but you really do know your stuff because you research. So you are the person to go to if someone really wants to know, what is the right cookware, what is this, because you won't just say something that you've heard in the pipeline. You really do figure out, okay, is it, isn't it? And that's why you're such a great person for people to just learn from, in terms of their low tox journey.
Yeah, and I really like teaching people the art of being able to spot a con or a badly sourced piece of writing as well. Like, I'll share a funny story. When I was researching for my book, I was just making sure every T was crossed, every I was dotted, and I was looking for the best, most concrete research on certain subjects. There was one thing, and I actually can't remember what it was now, but it was really funny. I hadn't taken it on to be truth, but I had taken it in my mind to be an interesting idea to explore. So I wanted to find the origin study that they were all basing, that this person was basing this fact on, well, so-called fact. So I went to her source. The source then pointed to another article. That source then pointed to another article where that was mentioned. That source then pointed to another guy, some random health guru online who, had actually come up with it, and he didn't put any sources, but not even a scientific paper behind this particular thing. So, and you get a lot of this online. And so, sometimes things aren't decided in the science yet. If you look at endocrine disruption, for example, this is something you've talked a lot about. It's not like there's, double-blind, peer-reviewed consensus in the scientific community, because you still have lobby money in government. So a lot of people pushing back and quashing science and, lovely independent tests that get done. And then there's not much incentive for more independent, bigger tests to be done, because there's no money to be made from exposing endocrine disruptors at their full effect of harm.
Exactly.
So often it's not definite, and humans love definite as well. We crave that, oh yes, this is definitely, but sometimes it's not there. But we at least want to know that we can make an informed choice based on what is available in the research.
Exactly. Like you say, where's the money? I mean, if suddenly we realise that if they did a study on endocrine disruptors and realised that it did cause diabetes, there's no, like you say, there's no money in that. So,
can't make a
but the more research that you can do, and at least find, I think you go with, like you say, whether there's more small studies, papers that have been written, anecdotal evidence, plus what you feel could be going on. And if that all starts to marry up, then you think, okay, there is a link here.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And I love talking people down the ledge from being really stressed out about all this stuff because
yeah, and it's easy to get stressed out. I remember when I first started doing nutrition, and you're so paranoid about everything. You don't let anything in. It has to be the perfect food. It has to be this. And then slowly over time you realize, you can be a little bit more lax.
Yeah, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza says this. He says, basically, when you're like that, you're eating organic stress.
Exactly. And this is the thing. Yeah, this is a thing I wanted to try. I really want to try and teach women in terms of their hormones. We've got diet, but also we've got the external stresses coming from toxins, but also that internal stress. So if you're stressing more over the food quality rather than what some of it not being as great, then that's going to be more of a stress to your body. Yeah. And more of an issue for inflammation and so on.
100%. Yeah.
So can we just touch on the big M word for a second? Mold.
Mold. Oh my gosh. Yeah, for a second I'd actually forgotten about mold, but no.
You forgot. Just quickly, because I did get a few questions about mold. Please, and I know, so you had a little bit of a setback in 2000 and it was what, 2013?
So let's call it a massive setback. Let's not beat around the bush here. And do you want me to share the link to the whole mold story blog post? Because that's going to answer
yes.
a whole bunch of questions.
I think that'll be very helpful because I have had a few questions and it's something I know in Sydney, especially in Sydney at the moment, it's rife.
So I've just popped it in our Zoom chat box if you want to copy paste it into Facebook later.
Perfect, I'll do that, thanks.
For guys to check out because it's an 8,000 word blog post with absolutely everything I went through. But suffice it to say that I didn't realise I was living in a water damaged building for 8 years. Or nearly 8 years. It was actually 7, sorry. But it was another building that I did know I was living in a water damaged building that year. But mold was interesting because we see mold as an annoyance, as an unsightly, ugly, and sometimes smelly thing. It isn't in the realm of being something that hurts us yet in our consciousness. And not in the medical field, nor in the general public field. We are sold things like exit mold, for example, because mold is ugly, unsightly and smelly and we want to get rid of it. We're never sold it in the context of maybe being damaging to our health. And of course, if it were sold that way, exit mold would be a complete fallacy because it doesn't even kill mold. It just hides it. Yeah, exactly. And gives them more food by putting more moisture onto the area. So it's a shocker, really. It's kind of like giving humans antibiotics and they develop resistance and
good analogy.
I want to say morph, but there's a better word for it. They
produce more spores.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, mold really, for me in the early days, and this is for so many people who are affected, this is the thing that freaks me out about mold, and it's why I've talked about it every single book talk I did last year, because people just don't join the dots. They don't know because it's not a recognised illness. You can't go to a doctor and get diagnosed with mold illness unless you find someone highly specialised, of which there are only about 10 of them in the whole of Australia, for example. And so people struggle for years, and what they struggle with in the beginning is stuff they might just come to see a naturopath about. And this could be stuff like brain fog, equilibrium of hormones, whether it's thyroid or sex hormones. It could be feeling a bit wired but tired at the same time and unable to get a really good sense of rest, not waking up refreshed, and resistant weight loss, something you are an absolute champion on. So this can carry on for years, but meanwhile, if you're one of the 25% of the people in the population who cannot clear mycotoxins, which are the little toxins that mold spores produce, this stuff just builds up, builds up, builds up. And so you put on more weight and you get a bit foggier. I got to the point where I couldn't even do a net banking internet code, 4 digits, and put it in, because I'd have to look at it 4 times just to know what the number was. I pride myself on remembering everybody's birthday, address, phone number. When I was that kid at school, you could ask the phone book to, and I would tell you everybody's details. So when you know something about yourself to be true, do not accept that in your 30s or 40s you're just getting older.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And so for me, you know, I'd go to my naturopath, we'd try a few things. I didn't mention the mold because I didn't even think it was, but it wasn't in the clinical questioning either. So this is about all of us really starting to put it on the radar, because for 1 in 4 of us, it can be a massive issue. For 3/4 of us, it is actually just an unsightly, annoying, smelly thing that you want to try and get rid of. But 1/4 of us really struggle. And over time, it inflames your brain more and more. And you can get to the point where you start to get neurological symptoms like I did, twitching and tremor. You can start to get cardiac symptoms like ectopic beats, tachycardia, flutters and strange things like that, palpitations, waking up with palpitations in the middle of the night. And then you can get really crazy stuff like a teary eye that doesn't stop, which I ended up having surgery for.
Yes, I remember you did. Yes.
I realised it was mould. Shooting pain, like ice pick sharp pains, could be anywhere in your body. Painful patches of skin, just randomly hot or painful patches of skin migrating around your body, which can be misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia often. Swelling joints, muscle aches, extreme tiredness, but extreme wiredness, almost a feeling like you're plugged into the wall. I mean, I could go on and on, but I'll let people read the post for if anything there is like, oh my God, that's me. And
yeah, I mean, it's worth them checking it out just if they're going through this.
Because the scary thing is it's a multiple system disorder, this inflammatory response. So, and our medical system sends people to specialists. I spent $2,000 at a cardiologist to be told my heart was fine.
Wow.
Crazy, because it was not fine and because it was something else causing it. But because it looked fine and all the arteries looked fine and, you know, full ultrasound stress test, Holter monitor, the works I had done. And he kept saying, honestly, there's nothing wrong with you.
You're all fine. Yeah. And 25%, that's a lot. So for any practitioners watching, you know, naturopaths, nutritionists, health coaches, there's a good chance that you've got a small proportion of your patients who are going through these chronic issues, and maybe you haven't quite figured it out, or maybe they're just not getting as well as you'd hoped on your treatment protocol. This could be the missing link.
Absolutely. It's so important. More practitioners just pop a quick question. How's your indoor air? You know, I'm doing a webinar on this tonight because I'm so passionate about it. How's your indoor air? Do you have any mold? Is it excessively dusty? Has anyone got asthma or weird symptoms that no one can piece together in the house? If you've got kids, it could be nosebleed or poor motor skills. My son's handwriting from 2 weeks after we moved out halved in size and became beautifully legible.
Wow.
It was amazing. And his tennis just got good, like his hand-eye coordination. He could all of a sudden he could hit a ball properly.
Wow, wow, wow. That's crazy.
A lot of money into that kid being able to hit a ball for years, and it just wasn't happening, but he loved it, so we kept going. Moved out of the mouldy house, all started to happen. So it's really, that brain piece is really interesting because a lot of people just don't know to join the dots yet.
And this is the thing with now they're suspecting, you know, it looks like Lyme disease really is not. A lot of people thought that Lyme disease may come by on its own or maybe a cause, but really it's looking like that is actually a symptom of mold exposure now. So it's like if you treat the Lyme, you're not quite getting to the full picture, and you need to actually, like you say, you need to cut yourself off from that mold.
Yeah, it's often going to be a similar gene pool or gene type, so the HLA-DRDQ, and you can actually ask for that test. It can go on Medicare if you have a doctor that's willing to just take dictation and test what you want to get tested. I've got all the resources in the mold post, and it's fascinating. You can then go on to online and see, based on the SNPs that you present with, You can see which ones give you a greater propensity to all-round toxin elimination difficulty, which I don't have, mold elimination difficulty, which I do have, and then Lyme issues. And the thing is if you're impaired in one way, you can then become someone who's really sensitive to toxins, which I was for a time. If I got into an air freshener cab, for example, 2 years ago, I would then be down with migraine and hay fever for 3 days. Now I get into, you know, the little Christmas tree swinging in the middle. I just think, oh, that's disgusting. Like, I still hate it, but it's because I've reduced the bucket load of inflammation in my system. I just wind the window down, find it annoying for 5 minutes, get out, and I'm fine. So,
and that's important, because migraines is a common, you know, there are people that are suffering chronic migraines on a weekly basis. Yeah. And so that's an important one. Maybe they haven't made the connection as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, in terms of the 3,500 people who've done Low Tox, the e-course, where we go through and reduce toxins of all kinds for 5 weeks, the number one positive report of people in terms of symptomatic relief, which, you know, it's not a course I wrote to heal people per se, but just like pleasant surprises from people who go in and do it, is, oh my gosh, I don't get migraines or headaches anymore. I can't.
Wonderful.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so some practical advice. If you're living in a place and you don't have the severe symptoms, but there is a little bit of mold, I know in your book, in your book you've got a few cleaning recipes in your book, like mold cleaner you've got here, what to do, non-porous and porous surface. Is that something, I mean, with this recipe that you've got here, this natural recipe, say on the shower, for instance, is this something that you do now, you would have to do on a daily basis to keep it away? If it's
absolutely. But I would say there's no point in doing any of it if you're not getting good airflow through a space. So before that, I'm all about the preventative. So yes, you know, if you've got a bit of mold, that's a great thing to do. But before that, think about why mold grows. Mold grows in humid environments and because of water damage. So that could be humidity in a wall. But most of the mold in the average house is a bathroom situation or kitchen tiles, you know, where you've had a stock pot going for hours, and so maybe some mold grows because there's a bit of humidity in the kitchen. So that is something you can fix. I think the number one in every house should have a dehumidifier that you can position wherever it needs to be. Like, I really like to run a dehumidifier for half an hour after everyone showers, just to really dry out the area again. And then we don't get mold in our bathroom in doing that. We just don't get it. Or have a really good, powerful extractor fan if you own the place and you can, you know, doctor things and upgrade a fixture like that, or put an extra one on a window so it sucks all the steam out. But you do not want steam to form in your bathroom. I mean, I usually have cold showers these days anyway. We are both big fans of the shower.
There we go, love them.
And so I don't get steam in my bathroom, but my hubby likes a hot shower, so we have the extractor fan on, and I bring the dehumidifier in for half an hour after his shower.
What dehumidifier are you using?
I really like DeLonghi. That's a
Think I lost you. Okay. Hi. I just lost you.
I don't know what happened there. Bizarre.
Okay. You were saying DeLonghi.
DeLonghi. Yeah, that's my
brilliant.
favorite.
So really the first part is prevention, keeping the moisture out. And you either do that through extraction fan, a good dehumidifier, and I say, keep windows open if you can.
Absolutely. Anywhere you can get cross flows. If you've got a floor apartment or a house that you own, please put bars on so you can put your windows up, or please put fly screens on if you're worried about spiders or creepy crawlers coming in. It is so important to have these indoor air spaces breathing. We never had mold problems before because we never had these closed up, boxed up kind of places. It's really unhealthy. So we've got to get the airflow going, and we've got to also not ignore leaks. You know, if you see a bit of a dodgy kind of, we actually in our kitchen just last week, I saw a tiny bit of like a brownie water stain, and Ollie got up into the roof, always handy having an SES volunteer husband, got up into the roof, siliconed the cracked tile. We let the owner of the property know that, you know, he'd sorted the water damage out but needed a new tile up there. We acted on it immediately, knowing what happens if you ignore that stuff. It just gets worse and worse, and mold grows. So you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to pay $2,000 to fix the bathroom tap leak that I can see happening there. But trust me, it's better than $50,000 for a full property remediation 10 years down the track when everybody's sick and you've all been to doctors for years, you know. Like I've seen some horror stories. So just get on all that home repair stuff.
I'm going to get myself a dehumidifier. I've got air purifiers. I don't have a dehumidifier. I'm going to get one of those ASAP.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, really good.
That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, or North Queensland, places like that.
It's really been terrible recently. Had a little bit of, there was actually fungus growing outside, but it's beautiful fungus. These massive mushrooms just popped up out of nowhere. But it was
outside.
At
your house?
Yeah, just outside, massive. I didn't know if they were edible, so I was Googling them, but they're poisonous. I was thinking of trying them up. They look beautiful, orange colour.
Like, you didn't.
So this is a question.
I will buy you some protein. I will deliver it to you.
They just kind of look like they would be tasty and woody, but this is a question. This is a question I have because I was reading, and I didn't think like this. I've got beautiful cast iron cookware, and I was reading, I can't remember where I read this article, this blog, I read it somewhere, and it was about things that we might all have that actually have a layer of stuff on that's actually not so, we think it's good for us, but it's actually not so good for us. So is cookware something we really need to be cautious about? I know obviously Teflon and those kind of things, yes, but how far down the low tox cookware do we need to go?
Yeah, so there are a few things there. Bakeware is a really interesting one because there's not much great bakeware readily available that exists that's low tox. Still, a lot of it is coated with PTFEs and PFOAs, and to avoid using boring long chemical names, those are basically either original Teflon or the safer cousin of Teflon that the same company produced. And neither of them break down in the environment ever. So they're extremely bad from a landfill and ecological build-up perspective in terms of wildlife build-up. And they're finding this stuff up in the Arctic. It's crazy. So you have that issue, but then you also have the issue that in veterinary circles, and this is readily available online to research, we included in the course, that vets know that these off-gas gases that are extremely harmful to birds to the point that they can instantly kill a bird. Like if you put a budgie in a kitchen and you fried with those pans, they would die. And so I am of the thinking that we are just much bigger creatures than birds, but we're all creatures at the end of the day. And often people get flu-like symptoms. Chefs that cook with these sorts of pans for hours on end in cheap kitchens, like in cafes where they just have a cook and some really cheap gear to, they have these issues of flu-like symptoms from these. So really, whether it's just killing you slowly or instantly if you're a tiny creature, either way, it's just not great. And so, you know, different people are going to be motivated by either an environmental aspect of making a change or a personal health aspect, or both. You know, both things really light me up and motivate me to make changes, but sometimes people are more one way or the other. And in terms of cookware, you really want to be going for something that's going to last and something that doesn't contain those coatings. So be wary of, you know, PFOA free, which is kind of like the new paraben free of the cookware world.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that paraben free is a good thing, but unless you look at the ingredients or the materials closely, it could still contain a whole bunch of other stuff that's not great. So I've emailed at least 10 companies where I go, so does that mean it's PTFE free as well, a similar chemical? No, it's not. It contains that. And these are pans that are called like Eco Green Non-Stick, or, you know, so it's really dodge. But I'm a huge fan of cast iron. I love the Solidteknics range.
Solidteknics. Yeah, they're the guys you like. Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, really good. And we did a Kickstarter together for a couple of bakeware items, so a cookie pizza sheet, which is gorgeous, nickel-free stainless steel. A lot of the stainless has nickel in it. And the interesting thing about nickel is it affects about 1 in 10 people. You'd probably know more about this than I do. But what okay, there you go. So what I found in the research was that it is not just the internal ingestion of cooking and the byproduct of then swallowing that food. How it shows up is cutaneously on the skin often. So a lot of people with nickel allergy, even though it's been ingested through the food that they've eaten from cooking on that pan or baking in that pan, they might get eczema or psoriasis or contact dermatitis.
Yes.
Very interesting, I found.
I've got it very high in my body because I've had porcelain fillings here where I got tripped over when I was 8 years old, and I had these 2 teeth smashed. They're just filled. And I wondered why it was so high. And it's because nickel is found in porcelain fillings. It helps. It's sort of like a binder, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's very high in my body. And nickel, and it's one of the things I was looking at. I'm doing research as into one of the things that might be, sometimes I get the keratosis pilaris. And I'm thinking that that might be because of the nickel. It's on the skin. So that's interesting. So cookware. What about my Le Creuset?
So Le Creuset is generally a great brand. It's one of my absolute favorites. The enamel is lead-free for all their enamelware. I have a gorgeous big Dutch oven, French oven pot that I do a lot of outside cooking in, soups. But there's their toughened non-stick is a no.
Toughened non-stick. I don't have that. I've got the cast iron, and the day that I was able to do fried eggs in it, when I learned how to do eggs that didn't stick, it took me a long time. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I don't have to cook with a non-stick pan anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's a happy day when you season properly and
when you learn, you learn how to do that. That's fantastic. So that's the cookware. What else I had another question. From someone asked another question. What was that? The mold, the cookware. Someone asked about deodorants. Actually, the best deodorant. I'm liking Fresca at the moment. Is it Fresca?
I love Fresca. Fresca unscented is what I have used for years, and it's just fantastic. But the thing with deodorant and any product really is any type of product is we have unrealistic expectations that as soon as you switch to natural, it's going to be perfect. And I just think that's a bit mean, because like, think about the first time you moved out of home, maybe with shampoo, you finally get to spend the money. So you tried the Wella, then you tried the Pantene, and then you landed on the Garnier. Like you didn't just pick up the one bottle and were perfectly satisfied from the get-go. So give natural products the same courtesy of maybe having to try through a couple of different brands before you find something you really love. Fresca unscented is my favorite. I love Black Chicken Remedies Axilla. If I'm doing like a really hardcore tennis session or something, I know I'm going to be out there for a couple of hours. then I'll bring out the big guns. That stuff is amazing, but I don't use that every day because I'm a bit of a sensitive pit gal, and the bicarb can react if I make that my everyday deodorant.
Okay.
But if I keep it for when I really need it, then it's awesome. But then a lot of people love that and use it every day. So really it is just about finding the one you love. Those are my two favorites to recommend, because usually between those two, someone loves one of them. But a couple of others, a No Pong is another range that people like. And just to think of another roll-on, the Biologica. My mum uses that one. And
Yeah.
it's really inexpensive, that one too.
Nice, I've seen that one. So
Yeah.
when it comes to starting a journey, and we'll talk about your Low Tox course in a moment, but I just wanted to, if someone was sort of starting out and they wanted to do a couple of things, 2 or 3 things that were, big movers in this Low Tox, the 3 things that could really make a big impact on them, what would those be? Where would they start?
I think the best thing you can do is, if you're still using scented candles and fabric softener and air freshener, ditch those. You get huge bang for your buck on literally just stopping the use of those 3 things. Don't even need to swap them out. Don't even need to spend more money. Just do that. Yeah.
These are things that we don't need.
Huge
aren't they?
return on investment
don't need them.
from the fact don't need them. And yet, like, I saw a scented candle the other day, $50. Seriously? No wonder we can't afford a deposit on a house if we're convinced that we need to be buying these sorts of things. Like, it's crazy. I spent my 20s buying all that stuff. I could have put that in the bank. I'd be living in my own house by now in Sydney. So it really just shocked me that we get coerced into these. Are you there? I feel like I've lost you.
No, I can see you. It did break up a little bit, so I think the internet's starting. It's playing up a little bit. So I'd love to for you to tell us a little bit about your course, because one of the things also is I wanted to give everyone that's listening and who have followed me in particular, and when I talk about a lot about detoxing, doing, say, the breakthrough program, detoxing hormones to balance hormones, eating organic where you can, and doing green smoothies and all of that kind of thing, I realize also how very important it is to look after the environment around you. So I just want, if people are stuck and they want to go that little bit further, I really recommend they do your course. But I just a quick overview on it.
Yeah, so the way the course came about was, like, by the time I had about 10,000 followers on my page, I was, helping people until 1, 2 in the morning. Betty with her kettle choices, Sandra choosing a shampoo, all these private messages and emails. I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And I was finding, and this happens so often now, even, we're over 60,000 people, and so many people obviously just out there researching, trying to figure things out for themselves. So it's still very much happening. It's just that I can't individually answer anymore now that there's this many people. And what I'm finding people are doing is they are wasting a heck of a lot of time on these internet merry-go-rounds trying to get accurate information. They're wasting a lot of money on websites that often sell greenwash and fully green products, and it's hard to tell if you don't know how to label read which one's which. So often, so many people get to my course first week, we start sharing labels from various types of products, because I really encourage all the students to say, can you just check this candle, or can you just help me with the answer the company's given me when I emailed them? And we're looking through and we're learning how to read between the lines. And so often I have to say, I'm so sorry, but unfortunately that actually has an endocrine disruptor and liquid silicone that's going to affect the environment in it, things like that. And it's really interesting psychologically and shitty, really. I'm sorry to say that on Facebook. Hopefully we don't get censored. But it's quite shitty to feel that you thought you were doing a great thing and then it turns out someone was just conning you into buying a green
I
product.
hate that. I have that all the time with clients. They buy something, maybe a supplement, and it's so expensive.
It happens so often with supplements.
It breaks my heart. I don't want to tell them.
I know. So it's really important to, I think, defining a learning space where that to the nth degree everything has been researched. There is zero chance of a resource in there ending up being a waste of money and or being bad for people or planet. And you have all the backup of all the amazing interviews, practitioners, PhD scientists, helping us really, really learn. Like, not just kind of like a shop and find a good shampoo, but have transferable skills for a lifetime where you could pick up a label in a pharmacy in Cyprus if you were there on holidays one day and know how to make a great choice if you'd run out of soap or whatever. You know, I'm all about people not needing a guru anymore or needing the safe space of one shop, but really understanding environmental impact, health impact, key chemicals, key questions to ask companies if you're considering something, which is super helpful if it's something bigger ticket where it's going to be either, you know, $1,000 or not, like a mattress or, you know, things like that, or clothes, and really helping people feel like they can move on for the rest of their lives knowing how to make a great choice. And that was what I wanted to do with this course. So it's sort of 25 topics, I think. It's spread out over 5 weeks, and we have 4 of the topics disseminated Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it's about 15, 20 minutes of reading if you just want to read the topic. Then you can watch the interview or listen. If you've got poor internet, we have a listen option. Or, you know, that's good for the train commute and things like that as well. And then if you want to be the A type who then clicks through to all the extra resources, or you just want to get the lifetime membership and come back to all that later, you're looking at about 5 or 6 hours per topic worth of potential content. But for the busy person, less than an hour, 4 days a week, to really get some wins on the board. So it's amazing.
I expect it's good to have something you can come back to, because like you say, there's always new research, new things coming out. We're always learning new stuff. Things are always changing. So it's good to be somewhere where you can keep your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And we add to the course over time. So a lot of the lifetime students like the fact they come back, see an interview every now and then that wasn't there when they first went on, or like if you don't have children yet and there's the Low Tox Kids Day, that's not going to be on your radar. But if you've got the lifetime membership and then 3 years down the track you do find yourself with a baby, which is wonderful, congratulations, you can go back to the Low Tox Kids page and check all of that out in more detail. So there are different topics that matter to different people, or maybe people are really happy with some of the natural swaps they've done in their laundry, cleaning and beauty so far, but that is like 1/10 of the full course. That's just, that's the easy stuff. I'm really all about, in that course, helping people deeply understand how to make better decisions forever, full stop, across every category of daily life.
Beautiful. And that's when change happens. That's when people become empowered, inspired, and that's the catalyst for positive change. So it's wonderful. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It's just such a joy to take a new group through. This year we're only doing 2, so you have to wait till late October to do this again. We're not doing 3 rounds this year. 2, yeah. So
launches are hard work.
Yeah, well, it's they are, and I feel like I give my best if we take away that admin side of things, and I can actually just creatively join people and help them kick off.
Yeah.
So I'm really.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you taking the time out today and come and talk with everyone. I know that people are going to come back and watch this, and I will be sharing it. I'll also share about your Low Tox course. I'll share the link with everyone, and just where everyone can find you. And I might, and if that's okay, I'll just share your little recipe. If anyone hasn't got Alexx's Low Tox book yet, there is that recipe, but I know Vanessa wanted to know. the recipe for the mold spray.
Oh yeah, just screen grab it.
Vinegar. Yeah, I just screenshot that for her, and she can have a look. But this is a great book, actually. It's got lots of cool stuff in it. I was going to give this as a gift to someone. I ended up reading it. It's just yeah, just a great size and a great little read and easy to find things. So I love it.
Yeah, and the way the course differs from the book is obviously in a book I can't personally coach people for 5 weeks in a Facebook group. And get the interviews, and something I couldn't put in the book because it was for international release is all of the product recommendations. So if you're not much of a DIYer and you actually want to buy swaps, then you have over 3,000 in the course now across the UK, US, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia.
Fabulous. So this is US and the UK as well. I think this is important to know. Yeah. The right swaps. Well, thanks a lot, and thank you for your three big swaps, so everyone can check that out. That just taking out the the candles that you don't need, the air fresheners that you don't need, the little smelly things in the car that you don't need, the plug-in air fresheners that you don't need. I mean, there's lots that you don't need. Those weird little things, gel things that people gel on the side of the toilet that are blue to make the water. Don't need that, and I think they're quite expensive. There's tons of stuff you really don't need. Let's write a don't need list, and you'll save so much.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and thanks for your time. And if anyone else has got any questions, please post them below. I think a couple have come through that I'll have a look at a bit later. A couple more.
I'll pop in and look as well.
And we'll see. But thank you, everybody, and thank you so much, Alexx. And I'll see you soon. Bye.